Okay, so because I'm still in moving situations and I'm going to be moving until November 18th, I'm kind of in a weird situation. I'll just preference this with this forward. I have moved into my girlfriend's grandparents' house so that I could get a job in Atlanta, which I have now, and it's a great job. But I have to do long hours a lot of the time for that. I worked 52 hours last week, and the week before that I worked 54 hours. So I haven't been able to do a lot of zoo videos, and it's going to be like this for a while because I'm not fully moving into my new apartment that we chose until around November 18th ish. So I can't give really great videos and can't do a lot of videos until I hit my slow season in the tech AV tech that I do, or that I move and I can actually have a good setup. So because of that, I'm going to be a little slow putting out videos, but nevertheless, I decided to, since I can't go out to an FNM, play a cockatrice tournament online here and run the latest version of my zoo. Let's talk about the latest version of my zoo. Someone on the thread has been talking about step links and how it's been a lot better with the onslaught fetches in. So I was attempting to do this. So my tried and true tested zoo that I currently have is a Step Links is Goblin Guide. That's the only difference between the two. But I decided to try out Step Links today. So this version of my zoo, what I've come to the realization is that zoo as a pure beatdown deck is not going to pull it off in Modern right now. So what I did was I pulled out what I used to do in Legacy Zoo, and which I still do in Legacy Zoo. The twice a year I actually still play Legacy Zoo. And that is this. The deck needs to be beat down, it needs to be aggressive, but it cannot lose a utility edge. That being said, for example, you might be having a lot of success right now with one-drop zoo. I think one-drop zoo is sort of the epitome of what the modern zoo has been for a very long time, which is just beat down. You basically say, here's a bunch of beat sticks, here's a bunch of burn, here's a bunch of lands, this is my deck. That's not something that this zoo aims to be. This zoo mimics the Legacy Zoo that I used to run. And it says that here is my beatdown core, this is my lands, and this is my utilities. Now utilities is a little bit separate. You'll see that I said burn on one, and then I said utilities on the other. Utilities is helping me gain an advantage in zoo. Now it's not saying Hate Bears-esque utility, which has a ton of utility. It's saying that there are certain cards here that let me play smart. I'm not just dumb turning creatures sideways. I still am turning tons of creatures sideways, but I have utility in doing so. I think the perfect example of a good utility creature here is Qasali Pridemage. Qasali Pridemage is a 2-mana 3/3. For what it's worth, attacking on alone, it's a 3/3 for 2 mana. Already above curve. We're talking Flint Hoof Boar good. It also has the ability to sacrifice itself and kill an enchantment or artifact. That's the utility. Rather than playing something like Destructive Revelry, which is still a good card, and I have one of in my sideboard, I'm playing a creature that can beat down and do this spell. So you'll see in my list, if you just look at it, it says 11 instances, and you'll think, oh, that's a really small amount of spells for a zoo deck that normally runs 20 in Division. But it's not. I actually have a lot of those utilities that have leaked into the creature base. Let's talk about the creature beatdown first. Curd Ape is a good place to start. It's 1 mana 2/3. Likewise, your Step Links is for the most part a 1 mana 4/5, at least for the first couple turns. It becomes worse as the game goes on in the same way that Goblin Guide does, but with the rising of our new fetches, the Onslaught fetches, Step Links actually has become a lot better because you can do it on curve and on color, which is the more important thing. Tarmogoyf, which can be ridiculous. It's basically 2 mana 3/4 or higher. Wild Noctowl, 1 mana 3/3, of course. And then to top it off, Knight of the Reliquary, who is a perfect blend of utility and beatdown. But for what it's worth, it's pretty much a beatdown in this deck. So I'm adding it to the beatdown core. Knight of the Reliquary is a 3 mana 4/4 at least, therefore a beatdown creature. It takes the place of Smiter. It's sort of like at 3 mana, and if it's got white in it, you get some form of utility. But it's still primarily a beatdown. Let's talk about the utility. Knock it off first. We have Lightning Bolt, Lightning Helix, Path to Exile. Why one less Path to Exile? Well, I'm running into a lot less pod than I used to be, and a lot more Delver than I used to be. So things like Helix and Bolt are better in that regard. Also, with my inclusion of the next utility spell, Grim Lavamancer, I have less need for removal. I can have 11 instant removal because Grim Lavamancer can normally, without getting dealt with right away, deal out 2 removal spells. So basically, I want you to read Grim Lavamancer as this. Grim Lavamancer is a 1-mana, 1/1 creature that you can attack early on with that turn 3 and 4 can remove another creature and then maybe make them waste mana on it. So for what it's worth, it's actually really good if you read it that way. It's a 1-mana, 1/1 that says when it enters the battlefield on turn 2 or turn 3 and 4, kill a creature. The opponent must pay 2 mana. Like, that is, and then it dies at the end of turn. That's a great card. So that's what Grim Lavamancer is doing nowadays in the modern meta, so it's great. More utility, Qasali Pride Mage, I already talked about. It's for Twin Affinity, Pyromancer's Ascension, random other things, but those are your main 3 that it comes in, that it's there for. It also deals, there's a lot more Videlkin Shackles control going around right now, and Qasali Pride Mage is great for that. Scavenging Ooze comes in. I kind of think that it should be a 3-1 split, but Ooze has enough utility on its own, and I want versatility rather than a lot of redundancy in terms of my my utility. So Scavenging Ooze comes in. Scavenging Ooze is a beatdown on its own. Again, I'm looking for creatures that can beat down as well as do utility just as well, and Scavenging Ooze has the ability to do so. And then that's it for utility. I mean, like I said, Knight of the Reliquary can do it. Let's talk about the lands that Knight can grab. Kessig Wolfrun, obvious reason. Trample. There's a lot of Lingering Souls going around. You might need a last push against control decks to finish damage off. You might need to make it so that when people are putting out big blockers, it's 1-for-1 removal, etc., etc. Oh, I forgot one more utility spell because it was at the top. Ghor-Clan Rampager is a 2-mana pump and trample with the option of also being a beatdown creature. Again, utility is also beatdown if I can. The other one that I'm running is Sinjiri Step, which is a little weird when you think about it, but the deck relies on some of these utility creatures surviving so that I can get their utility out, as well as I'm running Qasali Pride Mage, Step Links, Scavenging Ooze. All these guys are, and things that Ghor-Clan rampaged to. All of these things are susceptible to removal, so since my deck is more susceptible to 1-for-1 removal to get rid of my more utility things, Sinjiri Step becomes a lot better. Moving on, we go from 4 to 3 Arid Mesa now. I run 4 Windswept Hills, 4 Wooded Foothills, 4 Windswept Heath, and 3 Arid Mesa, because Arid Mesa is actually the less good of this. I need white a lot less than others. I need basic mountains a lot less than I normally would, so it's gone down from 4 to 3 since these guys are now in the pact. This is your best fetch land in the deck because it can get you both basics that you need, and this comes in number 2 because the most important basic that you have is a forest. To round it off, again, 1 forest, 1 mountain, 1 plains, 1 sacred foundry, 2 stomping grounds, 2 temple gardens. And that makes the deck. On my sideboard, I'm running 2 Hushwing Gryff, and the reason why is so that I can deal with pod creatures primarily. My deck is a little bit weaker to pod as I took out paths, but I have it in the sideboard so I can deal with it a little bit more. It also is a headache against Twin. There's a lot more flash Geist decks popping up where you've got Vendilion Click, a Snapcasters, and Restoration Angels. Because Treasure Cruise, by the way, this is all the reason why there's a rise in a lot of blue decks right now. Is because everyone and their mom is testing out Treasure Cruise right now. Thrund is actually primarily there for Junk and Jund and Rock, but is actually very good against control as well. I took out Choke, So I wanted to have something a little bit that was also good against control and tempo, and Thrun does that. He's also good against slower aggro because he can regenerate. But, put that in at your own discretion. 3 Leyline Sanctity. People are still running Burn. It's still one of the top 3 decks in Modern. I wish I could cut it out of my board. I really do. But my deck, I start my life at 14, so I can't do it. How Domain Zoo guys are trying to run their Domain Zoo without running Leyline of Sanctity blows my mind. 3 of, because like I said, it's either a 4 of, 3 of, or a none of. Stony Silence. Again, I've said I've been seeing a lot more affinity and a lot more blue-based control that runs Videlkin Shackles. So Stony Silence comes in there. It's also good against Millerapod, or it's also good against Kikipod, not Millerapod. So don't side it against Millerapod. Tron and whatnot. So I think it's better than Destructive Revelry right now, though you could argue it, and you could either have a 1 Stony Silence, 2 Destructive Revelry, or 1 Destructive Revelry, 1 Stony Silence, and 1 Ancient Grudge if you wanted to do it that way. You could go about doing it that way. That's what I would suggest right now in the current meta. I always like to have 2 to 3 artifact kills, and I like to have some enchantment coverage, but since I've got some Qasali Pride mages in the main board, I feel less of a need for it. Scavenging Juniors, by the way, also good against Pod, which is why it's in the main deck. You'll see that I have no Graveyard Hate right now, and that's because of Scavenging Juniors. If I really wanted to cut something to add some more Graveyard Hate into the sideboard, I would probably cut a Stony Silence or a Vines of Vastwood and put it in a Bajuka Bog. Just because I've already got it allows me to run almost 7 forms of Graveyard Hate, because I would be running 4 Night of the Reliquary, 2 Qasali, or 2 Scavenging Ooze, and then the extra Bajuka Bog. So it'd be like running 7. Destructive Revelry is in there. Path to Exile's in there for random creatures and like mid-range decks. Vines of Vast would come in because there's getting a lot of blue-based control that's trying to run like American control, so this nulls it out. It's also really, really, really good against Jund. Molten Rain, because again, Jund and control. It seems like my board is maybe a little overboard against Jund and control, but they've got other reasons that they're in there. Like this is also good against Tron. This is also good against Delver. That's my main reasoning. When I build my sideboards, I think about the entire metagame as a whole, and I try to see if I can have sideboards that cover all my bases as well. This is also really good against Twin. Like there's a ton of reasons for it. I don't know if any of these things will come up, but it's worth noting. Another deck that I want to talk about before I actually go into the online universe and try to get this tournament started is the Jeskai's Ascendancy, the 3 mana. Whenever a non-creature spell comes into play, untap your creatures, and they get 1/1 till end of turn. Is it a good deck? I don't think so. I think once the meta adapts to it, the meta adapts to it. But if someone stupid around your way is like, oh, I'm going to run this deck, because it actually is cheap. The most expensive card is Glittering Wish, which jumped from $4 to $20. Are you kidding me? Then you're going to need Aethersworn. Yeah, start using Aethersworn Canonist. That's what you use. Aethersworn Canonist. They can't remove it. They've got no way to deal with it. They look at their deck and they go, oh, I lose, basically. So that's what I would suggest for you to do if you run into that. If you were going to tweak my list to try to fit those in there, I would fit it as a 3 of. I'd probably cut the Leyline of Sanctities, to be honest with you, for it. You're giving up your red deck wins matchup, but getting a better matchup against those stupid decks. You get a little bit of better matchup against like Burn and Ad Nauseam and stuff like that too.
Lost the roll.
That's it. Let's go ahead and get into the games. I don't win the hand. I've been having terrible mana lately. It's Mole, and this is keepable. It's more like 1-drop Zoo than anything else, but I'm able to get still in 4 damage on turn 2. Sans me not drawing a basic or shock land. And if I drew that, I would obviously keep these. So we got Serum Vision. So we're either against a control deck, Blue Moon, Twin, Tempo deck, or like Storm. I hope. Oh my god, I'm playing online right now, and everyone wants to try Jeskai's ascendancy or whatever they call it right now. All right, that actually works. No, that doesn't work really well for me. That's the one shock land that doesn't work super well for me. But holding this. Okay, so if I crack this, it allows me to get in for an extra 2 damage on the Curd Ape. In the long run, it might be better for me just to get in with these because that gets me an extra 2 damage in. It does relatively the same. The difference is Steplinks might not be able to get in multiple times. I'm going to go ahead and just risk it with the Temple Garden. Top that out there. Because who knows? I might draw something that I'd rather play, like a Tarmogoyf or a... or I might draw something like a Scavenging Ooze or even a... yeah, Wild Noctil. A high risk, high reward here, because if he kills this, then I just get blown out of the water. Thoughtseize. Okay, well, I'm losing probably a Curd Ape anyways, so it does not matter then what I did. What land should I do other than this? Probably the Arid Misa, so this way I can crack this for any... well, now it goes a Helix. Maybe I'm against a Fey deck. I'm going to put out the Arid Misa here. And I'm gonna crack it because I gotta get this out here anyways. It's not like I still need a red source. So it's not like by not cracking it I'm being smart, although I do that sometimes. Actually, a lot of the time with Steplinks. He can bounce my Steplinks if he wants, if that's what the goal is here. It's not. We drop out a Curd Ape. And I still think this is the best path. Because we gotta get in, we gotta cash in with Steplinks while it's hot. This has to be fairies. This has to be fairies. That's the only thing I can think of that's using all of, like, these colors. Vidalcan Shackles, huh? Well, let's see what we got. He can't take my Curd Ape yet. And I also think that I don't go all in with the Steplinks here. Because unless, well, let's see, if he's got another island, which he probably does, he can steal my Curd Ape or my Steplinks, doesn't really matter. I think, actually, we gotta go all in at this point. I got nothing to cast, so I'm just gonna go ahead and crack this. My reason being is that I could maybe, if he doesn't have, and I'll see if I'll get jolted on this or not, if he doesn't have an extra, what do you call it? Island, he wouldn't be able to steal my Steplinks if I cracked it on his turn in response. That's not the case though, however. I'm getting a green because Scavenging Ooze would be pretty good right now. We're getting in for a lot of damage here. Putting him down to 6, which means that yeah, he's gonna be able to steal my Steplinks more than anything else next turn. Yeah, so he had the island anyway, so I made the correct choice into trying to get in. Scavenging Ooze is a good card to get here. I don't want to cast it unless I've got a way to pump him up, just because that would be stupid of me to do. So I think what I do is I swing and I sacrifice my Steplinks, understandably sacrifice it, and then swing again and sacrifice my well, I don't lose my Curd Apes. Well, let's see here. He's still gonna steal my my Steplinks, but this way, no matter what he steals, I still can get in for some damage. Because if he steals my and I still got a Curd Ape in my graveyard, mine. And then we're gonna pass the turn here. Reason why we're gonna pass the turn here, because it's smart to do so, is by putting out a Windswept Heath, I can now outdo this Vidalcan Shackles. If he's dumb enough to do that, that is. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so he can steal it. That's all he can do. So we can steal it in response to him doing that. I can't give trample. So I'm just going to go ahead and swing. Let's see what he tries to steal. He's got to steal my Curt Ape. And he steals that. Does it untap it? Okay, so now we've got two things in the graveyard. Can't steal my... Well, he can still steal my ooze because he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 if he tries to. Well, if I play this, I've got how many things in my graveyard? 2? So I can make it 4/4, which is not enough. I think we put out the Tarmogoyf. And we pass it. This does mean that we've got, what? A 4/5 Tarmogoyf? Which can't be stolen. Unless he were to put down his own, he'd have to put down his own island and shoot a Ghost Quarter at my thing. Except here I think he's just dead if he doesn't have anything then. I'm just gonna take the life here because why not? More or less is the reasoning. Alright, so then we crack this. And there you go. That's it. Alright, done, done, done. Make it bigger and then swing for the wing here. That's exactly what we had to do. It's just sort of like went out through some weird means. Sure. Alright, so we know he's a control deck. He's not even like a Fey deck. He's just a control deck. If he's a Fey, he's like super light Fey elements. Gore-Clan Rampager is less good in that kind of matchup. Thrun becomes amazing in that kind of matchup. Stony Silence, we know he's running lots of artifacts. He's running at least 6 because he's running 4 Vendelkin Shackles plus 2 swords at least. So Stony Silence becomes much, much, much better. I didn't see any good creatures from him, but Vines of Vastwood is also very good here because it allows us to negate what he's doing. We also have Molten Rains if we really want to. I like to put in everything in my sideboard and then just think about what I should start taking out. Again, a lot of this burn was unnecessary, like the Helixes. There wasn't anything that was really worth mentioning there. I could probably take out the Bolts too, and I'm going to take out the Paths just because I haven't seen him put out a real finisher yet. So I think that's probably the setup I want to do, is just take out my burn for the most part, and then just take out the Paths because I haven't seen any good finisher from him yet. I'm assuming his finisher is probably my own creatures or lands. This is actually a good hand. I'm going to keep it. Because we got access to red-green, white-green, Vines of Vastwood on our Curt Ape, which will let us hit for 6 if he tries to, like, kill it somehow. If he doesn't, then I can get a Tarmogoyf, and he tries to do something with that Tarmogoyf, I can kill him with it, too. No Thoughtseize to start off with, which is great. I think I'm going to crack this for a Stomping Ground. White is the least important color right now. Green and red is the most important color for my hand. So we're going to crack this for a Stomping Ground. And put out that Curt Ape. So what I was playing around, by the way, if I didn't explain it well enough there, was he could Ghost Quarter his own Mutavault and get a 4th island. So I had to make sure that like, that's the reason why I didn't cast the Scavenging Ooze when I had, like, 2 stuff in the yards. I love Bitter Blossom. Bitter Blossom's not good against this deck. I think I want to cast... I think I want to cast... I can crack this to get my white, but I'd rather get green with it, with the Temple Garden, so that way I can cast the... And I need the green with it anyways, so that I can get Vines of Astwood. So I think it's better to do it with the... I think it's better to do it this way. So we'll get a Temple Garden with this. And I think the best bet is to actually cast Scavenging Ooze, because it does as much damage as this does. I don't want to like mess up my mana here, because in the long run it's stupid. So I cast Tarmogoyf and I have a 1/2, which could get bigger. I cast a Scavenging Ooze, I have a 2/2, which also can get bigger, but the important thing is I can eat its stuff. And then... Ah, crap! Alright, well, what ended up happening there was I accidentally hit a mulligan, so I said I would take the game 3, and I take the game loss, so I disqualified myself for it. I'm gonna go ahead and get myself... I mold to Holy Hell here. But I'm gonna get myself a Stomping Ground, because there's more I can do at 1 mana with a Stomping Ground. So let's see what we can do. We both mold to Holy Hell, though, so, and he's a higher mana cost dude than I am. For example, if you were to put down Bloater Blossom, even if he has the mana for it, I'll win the game. Just through sheer turns of not being able to do anything. Steel Shaper's Gift. Okay. 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 Sort of Feast and Famine. Sure. Doesn't actually null out any of my removal. It stops like all my creatures though. Stony Silence would be great to play if I had the mana for it. But if I still draw a mana and he puts out gets a mana and puts out his what do you call it? His sword, I'm still fine as long as I get that mana for Stony Silence. I'm going to draw here. I'm going to put out a, I don't want to get starved. I can get starved on green, or red, that's fine. But I don't want to be starved on white or green. And my reasoning, I can either put out the Tarmogoyf right now. No, because if I put out the Tarmogoyf, I can still deal with it. Or if he kills anything, I get white off of it. And I can still put out Stony Silence. We're going to put out Tarmogoyf. Because that allows us to do more damage anyways. I'm just thinking Stony Silence is good, especially if he like puts out a Videlkin Shackles or something. There's a sort of Feast and Famine, so I can null it out with my Stony Silence now. go ahead and put out Stony Silence and just swing for 4. And that's probably going to start becoming game. If I get more mana now, it's gonna become more and more in my favor. So he's a Fey deck. He's just very, very light on his Fey elements. He's more of a control Fey deck than anything else. But he's got weird tempo things with the sort of Feast and Famines. I don't know. I don't think it's a good idea. And that's gonna be game. So there we go. He's saying that's it. Alright, we lost the roll, but I think we won the hand. We got a very, very aggressive hand here. Noctel into Pride Mage with double bolt and Path to back it up. We're hitting for 4 damage on turn 2, which is almost as good as hitting for 5 damage on turn 2. He takes a mole, which is good for me anyways. That means I'm going to be ahead of cards. I'm going to be ahead of cards by 2 since he's on the play. And he doesn't even have a good mana opener. Alright, we're getting a 3rd land here, and I like being at my 3rd land. I always crack my Arid Mises first, which is opposite than I used to do, so it's something I'm getting used to now. Because Arid Mises is the worst fetch land in this deck now, which is crazy to think of, because like 2 months ago it was by far the best. And I always go for a turn 1 Stomping Ground. It's not sometimes the correct move, but I have only Path in my hand that's white, aside from Pride Mage, which costs 2 anyways. And I'd rather go for the double bolt on turn 2 if I have to. Not that I would have to, but that if I had to. Alright, here we take a turn, and what do we get? I guess a Temple Garden? Again, just finishing out my colors. I could have gotten something else, but I'd rather have the green because I've got Scavenging Ooze main deck. And we'll swing for 4. Sure. That's fine. I mean, he's still losing 2 life off of it. And he's discarding a card to get rid of mine, so it's, in my head, weirdly enough, Dismember against aggro decks is probably one of the worst things that you can do. So we are playing against a tokens deck. We have Intangible Virtue coming out, but I can pop that at any given point in time if I want to. I think I'm going to hold on to the Sinjiri Step so that way I can give him protection from white if I need to. And we'll swing for 3. Dropping him down to 15. And we have him at a theoretical... I 6 take away this, so a theoretical 9 is what we have him at. I'm also probably going to at least swing one more time with my Sinjiri Step, so we have him at a theoretical 6. Because I'm not going to pop it yet. I'd pop it on his turn if I was going to do anything. So let's see what we can do here. View library, grab ourselves out a, I guess this to finish it off, although I don't really need any more white. Well, I've got 2 paths. I think we just try to ride the back a little bit off of this guy. I also think I'm going to fire off a bolt. I think I'm going to fire off my bolts to conserve on mana, because I'm all in aggression at this point. I really wish that was a creature. So there's him at that theoretical 6. And I can take the damage off of the spear. It's not like a big deal. On my turn, I can path both of them if I really needed to. So I can... oh, there's 2 intangible virtues. Well, that's different then. I think I'm just going to double path these guys. I think I'm going to double path it, so that way I bring him down to theoretical 3, and I can win by drawing a bolt or a helix. It just wins me the game. We realized very early on that we're gonna, with the hand that we have, we're gonna need the aggression. I don't have like any more creatures, so we need to go all in. Grim Lavamancer will probably do it in the end. Sure. We're gonna grab ourselves a basic mountain. So depending on what he's got, if he's got like more stuff like intangible virtue, you know, it's pretty useless. Even if he has something like Hero Bladehold, I can survive, I think, 1 attack from that thing. And there's Lingering Souls from the graveyard, sure. But again, Summoning Sickness is a thing. There are 3 3s, which means I get attacked once, I go down to 5. I get attacked twice, I lose the game. But in combination with the Bolt, I can't win. I need to do 4 damage. And that's probably going to be the game for me here. Yeah, so I needed to get that swing down and then draw the Lightning Helix. That would have been the only out for me. Again, I can only take 1 hit here. So if I draw a Bolt, I still win the game. If I don't, I lose the game. I still lose the game if I crack this or not, so it doesn't really matter. It's not like he's going to bolt me down, so I'll just use this to thin. At this point, got no reason not to. I will grab a basic, because why not? I don't have any Goblin Guides in this list, so there's no hasty way that I can do this. So let's see what we draw here. And a Wild Noctowl will not do it. Alright, that's game 1. So let's see what we gotta pull out here then. He had a ton of paths during that game. He didn't have a ton of paths, he only had like 2. He had a path and, what, like another path? And a Dismember, so he's probably running at least 3. I think our best bet here is to put Vines of Vastwood in, as well as the Molten Rains, and take out our paths. Paths, well, depending on what he's got, he can hit different things with black-white tokens. Helix has become less good. Path isn't the best thing in the world either, but it's better than the alternative. I think I'm going to take out 1 Molten Rain. We'll keep this. This is a slower hand, but a keepable hand, especially since I'm going first. And I could give protection with this Sinjiri Step, but seeing him mull here to try to get removal, at this point I'm not even going to do that. I'm just going to play a turn 1 Sinjiri Step. It's not like that can do anything. It can tap for a colorless. There we go. Grim Lavamancer is alright here. I'll just put out that Grim. It's better than anything else I got right now, so why not? But if he doesn't put out a land here, he's dead. There's just no way around it. I'm going to go ahead and Molten Rain out his only lands and destroy him. At this point, I'm willing to Molten Rain his planes too. Well, there goes the Molten Rain, but it's not a huge deal. If he doesn't take my Molten Rain, he's screwed. If he decides to go for anything else other than Molten Rain, he's screwed, because I'm going to hit that planes and cut him off of his mana. Likewise, I could just hit the I think I'm actually just going to hit the Heath. Yeah, so there goes the Molten Rain. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and crack this. I probably should have put out Wooded Footholds. So that way I could reveal less. But I didn't. My own fault. I'm going to use my mana to cast Knight, so it's not like I need to hold up my Grim damage. I'm just going to go for it. There's a very good chance that next turn I put down the Wood Foothills and crack it and not attack with the Knight of the Reliquary, so that way I can get it out of Dismember range. Okay, well, that's not happening anymore. So if he's naming Knight, he doesn't have Dismember. It's just as simple as that. Let's see here. Probably want to grab a Temple Garden now that we got enough color coverage. We got no reason. Well, you know what? Screw it. We can go ahead and kill that thing. And Sans Path, there's no way he can do anything about it. So let's figure out the best way to mana do this. I want to get out a colorless, probably. So I think we Destructive Revelry. Then we get a colorless. Tossing this. I have the access to basically 5 mana, is what I'm saying. And I could do this with the colorless to cast Tarmogoyf. Then it still opens me to shoot him, but I don't think I want to. I'm just going to swing for 1. Let's do this now. Pull the trigger on the Destructive Revelry now. This way I can null out a Dismember and be happy about everything. Because we had to have anything but a creature in there, so it's a 4/5. If a creature goes in there, then suddenly it's a 5/5. But this allows me to get a Temple, a Kessig Wolfram. And GG. Yeah, so that way I could null out Dismember. Dismember was his only out, and I knew that, and as long as I could beat the Dismember, then there was no way that he could beat me. As simple as that. I'm going to take out the Molten Rain because I'm not on the play right now. What do I put back in? Ooh, not Stony Silence. Not Thrund, because Thrund regeneration doesn't really matter. I guess we just put in 1 more Lightning Helix. Well, we could put in the Path, too, technically. But I have yet to see any reason to put in a Path over the Helix. Well, except for Helix costs... Path costs 1 mana. Helix can end the game, though. I don't know. I'm just going to go with the Helix. I can keep this hand. It's a keepable hand. Hopefully I draw at least 1 more land. I don't want to like mana strain myself here and not put out my Windswept. That would be stupid in the long run. Destructive Revelry is probably a good catch here with your Thoughtseize. Getting out of Lynxia is what I thought he was gonna do. And it makes me feel a little bit better because that means I can crack this and not really care. You know, not necessarily that it's bad. It's just something I can do. All right. Wild Noctowl will be coming down the turn after this one. But we're looking pretty good here. We've got a lot of aggression here. Wild Noctowl and Step Lynx being able to hit for at least 7, probably. Unless he Thoughtseizes me yet again. Which is not the worst thing in the world. It's still him losing 2 life. I guess he's thinking about doing a Dismember. And by all means he can. I'm just going to go ahead and give him the juicy Dismember target right now. Because I'm going to put out Tarmogoyf next turn if he doesn't. Can you respond to that? Alright, well that means we put out a Dismember, or we put out a Tarmogoyf now, that we have a 4/5 Tarmogoyf. Seems like a good call. I'll ditch this out of our hand. I usually just keep this up here so that way I can remember what he knows. This 4/5 Tarmogoyf is not that great for him. He knows I have a Destructive Revelry, so I don't think he's going to be casting any enchantments, although all the enchantments that he's got to eventually cast in order to try to win the game. Alright, well, I'm probably going to lose my, my Wild Noctowl. If he takes my Destructive Revelry, it's because he's got something up his sleeve. There we go. It's gone. Just like that, it's gone. Destructive Revelry is a sometimes thing against this kind of deck, tokens deck. Their main way of winning is through like having enchantments, though, and I did see like some whatnot from him. Like this is when I pop this. I've got no reason not to here. I'm gonna go ahead and do it this way. Get myself out a 5/6 Tarmogoyf, and then make him lose half his life. And this puts us very close to winning here, because he's basically down to 4 with the bolts. So if he can't get rid of Tarmogoyf here, then I'll win. This is one of those cases where you can bolt whatever's in the way, so that you can hit with Tarmogoyf. GG! And we're out of Dismember range at that point, so that's the game. We got a Keepable Hand, no removal, but it looks like we're playing against a control deck, which we should be favored in anyways. We drew a removal regardless. We're going to start off, of course, with our Shockland and drop it into a Step Lynx. This would be the time to use a Lightning Helix if the opponent's got it. If the opponent does not, they're going to be taking some damage to the face noggin. Alright, man. If he decides to bolt me here, he can. Won't stop it. I think we do Solid Pride Mage over anything else. We might be playing against, like, American Twin, and putting out Pride Mage is probably stupid then, but I can't guarantee that, so I'm just going to go ahead and crack that. Let's see, we want to get out probably, I want to say we're going to get out of Stomping Ground with that. I like getting out basics at times, but it's probably 90% sure that this one's not going to have Blood Moon in it. I gave ample time for him to respond. He did not. If he decides to path my step links, that's fine. Like I said, I could have Sinjiri stepped and then done white, but then he would have pathed in response to that, and I would have had a tapped land, and I could put out Curdape. But this was just a better mana efficiency. I'm going to grab a forest with this. I still end up getting a 3/3 attacker next turn, so it's not like... And not only that, yeah, it's true, I still am getting a lot of damage in with this. Looks like we're in. He can't bolt it and kill it, but we'll try to see if I can... We'll try to see if I can get out a mana leak early here by doing a Curdape. Looks like we get it in there. I'm also going to go ahead. Now, there's no reason for me to hold it. Play the Tarmogoyf. Now, he can remand it, and I'm going to wish I didn't play the Curdape. But that's fine if he remands it. I'm not, like, in dire straits. Looks like Tarmogoyf is in. I wonder if he's just going to wipe my board next turn and make me feel sad about myself for overextending. But there isn't really very many decks with main deck board wipes. Like, that doesn't rarely ever happen. I mean, if he does, I'm just going to just willingly say I, like, smashed myself into it. But there's nothing really else I can do here. I can play into Snapcaster Mage, sure. We're just going to go ahead here and play the Lightning Helix on Snapcaster Mage. And then this is going to get pathed, and we're going to get ourselves out, again, another basic to it. We're going to get planes here. We still get in for 4 damage, which is fine enough. And I'm going to go ahead and put out the Stomping Ground. And do I want to play it tapped? Yeah, I guess I want to play it tapped. There's no way he can combo off like twin-wise on me. I think he's just American control, but he's down to 12. I'm still at 18 somehow. How am I at 18? Oh, because I got Lightning Helix and I gained life. Derp, that's why. This would be the part where if I had Choke in my sideboard, there's no way he could win. But he's not winning with a Batterskull, that's for certain. Alright, Cryptic Command. I hate it, just put it out there. I hate it when people say K online when they're tapped out and they have no pact of negotiation. Like, stuff like that, like, it just annoys me. Like, you're not in control of the situation, don't say K. Just makes you look like a douche. So, he can flash in something if he wants. I'm going to want to play the Scavenging Ooze now, because he didn't actually do anything. He didn't flash in what I think he was going to play. He tapped his mana, so he probably has Vendilion Click. So I think the best choice I can do here is play the Scavenging Ooze now. Normally I would play it on second main, but I think he's going to flash in the Vendilion Click, so I'd rather do it now. This way, yes, he can counter tap, but then he's not drawing. I'm denying him denying him things like that. I'm gonna go ahead and start into my combat phase now. Sure, nothing I can do there. And then we're gonna go ahead and swing with the Curdapes. And then I'm gonna go hit in my second main phase. And I'm gonna get Snap. I'm gonna make sure to separate these triggers here. My reasoning is fairly simple. Actually, these are exiled. If they weren't, I could eat them with the Scavenger News. But I'm just going to do that for now. This way, if he tries to Helix my Scavenger News, I can... Well, I can't really do anything to it, but I can eat his... I can eat some of his spells in response. Delkin Shackles, huh? And that's only going to be able to do for 2 right now. Get up here for 4. And let's eat Helix. Huh, so let's see what he's got here. What can he have up his sleeve other than playing... I want to say that I'm going to leave the Sinjiri Step alone right now. He might Path, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that out there. So I can kill this in response. Well, not in response. I'm just going to kill it and swing for a lot of damage here. And then let's eat my Curdape. And then let's see what else we want to do. Maybe eat his Cryptic. This turns it into a colored creature, correct? Yes, so I can still go ahead and slip by with it. And then second main will eat Cryptic. And we'll pass the turn here. In the end, we're probably going to also eat his Flooded Strand because he's probably using Treasure Cruise or whatever it was called. That new card that came out with Delve and Draw 3. He can't steal... So here's the options. He can't steal Curdape and Vidalcan Shackles. So I got to think prior to doing anything else what I can do here. So the question here is, he's going to activate them during my attack step, where it's not really going to matter. I can draw a Burn and kill my Curdape in response to it, although I could probably just kill him at that point. Depends on what I draw, really. Let's just... Lightning Helix, that's good. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and put this down and name Whites. Let's see if it resolves. Alright, it resolves. Now that we named white, I can, in response to him stealing my Curd Ape, he can't block with the Colonnade, which is why I said white. In response to him stealing with Shackles, I can go ahead and kill my own Curd Ape. Kill my own guy. So sans him having a Snapcaster to block, we win the game. If he tries to mana leak it, I can pay for it, which he didn't. Yeah, so Snapcaster block was his only out, and that's fine. I think this is the highest my life total's ever been as a zoo player. Well, actually, I don't need to do that right now. Let's just hold on to that like that. This is fine. This is 6/6 for now. Now, at this point, I don't need to play any creatures until he finds himself a path to exile, because he can block with colonnades for 2 turns, but he's losing land by doing so, and he's also losing his win conditions. I can eat my Curd Ape at the end of turn. 1 short, as he says. I like it when people make excuses at the end. Doesn't really matter that they're 1 short, but whatever. Thrun comes in because he's obviously good against control decks. Molten Rain comes in because their win condition is a very greedy colored sourced creature. He has main deck Vedelkin Shackles, which he's going to keep in against me, so Stony Silence comes in. Destructive Revelry comes in. It's like I'm using the entire sideboard pretty much. Now we got to decide what to cut. Helixes and Bolts, I believe, are the least effective thing against them. He's got lots of removal, so Gore Clan Rampages are actually not super effective. If I was going to cut Gores, I'd probably put my Paths back in because, again, I'm going to have to deal with those lands, and that's his main win condition. So Path to Exile is a little bit better in that situation.